Go for the intro, Tara. We're good to go. Welcome, everyone.
Here in British Columbia, innovation is everywhere. Engage with natural resources to evolving transportation and creating industry-defining technologies. BC innovators are putting their mark on tomorrow and addressing the crucial social, economic, and environmental challenges we face around the world. And at Innovate BC, we help foster the ideas and solutions emerging out of our province so that all British Columbians can benefit from a thriving and inclusive innovation economy. So, what does that mean? We are champions of innovation and change makers, relationship builders and community connectors, drivers of ecosystem data and storytellers. We work to create more opportunities for everyone to participate in our innovation ecosystem, working with strategic partners in BC and beyond. And our programs are designed to connect innovators to the resources they need to succeed. Looking to start and scale your business, or learn how to navigate human resources, digital marketing, or intellectual property? We'll connect you with experts in your field and mentors to help your business grow. Need funding? Our grant programs can help you hire talent, commercialize your research, and validate your technology. Searching for innovative solutions to your most pressing challenges? Tap into our network of BC's most promising innovators and solution providers. We help companies large and small across industries drive innovation forward because BC is the best place to start, grow, and invest for tomorrow. Begin today and grow your idea with us. Innovate BC.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. You have joined Innovate BC with Can Do. My name's Michelle. In case we haven't met yet, welcome to our virtual family. It is Tuesday. I'm joining from Amiskwaciwâskahikan Treaty 6 territory. And let me tell you, it is a beautiful day. Is it even winter season yet? Because I could have went for a walk without my jacket. It's a beautiful day here in Amiskwaciwâskahikan. I hope wherever you are, wherever you're joining from, that you're experiencing goodness, because that's who Creator is. We are surrounded by goodness, the lands, the waters, our relatives. I have all these rabbits that live by my home that I just adore. So there's goodness all around us, and I hope that you got to experience some of that today. I'm honored. We are honored that you've joined us. I'm looking forward to today's session is Networking 101. I love talking about this. I love listening. I love learning. And that is what these sessions are all about, is just taking in knowledge that's being shared with us, people in their own fields of perhaps expertise, that they've walked this path. So they've come here to share with us. And so that's Jessica today. She's going to come share with us some tips, tools, about speaking, networking, engagement. And I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. There is going to be opportunity for you to ask any questions, share. There will be some space at the end, but feel free to use that chat box throughout. Leave comments, ask those questions. I absolutely will make note of them. Also, feel free to leave a note as to where you are joining from today. We always love to know where our family is joining from. So before we get started, for me, I think it's always important to just take a moment to acknowledge, the goodness of Creator. As that sun rises in the east this morning, Creator met us for another day. And, our responsibility is to walk in good ways, to take care of ourselves, to take care of the land, to take care of each other, to honor our path. So just taking that moment, because sometimes life can be just full of hustle and bustle and busyness. But I think it's really important to take those sacred moments, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is you need. But right now, we're just going to take a quick moment just to acknowledge and extend gratitude for the gifts that have been given to us so that we can walk well in Creator's world. So we say, hi, Creator. All right. Well, it's my honor to introduce our next guest speaker. So it is Networking 101. What comes to mind when you hear tell us about yourself. Me, I get a little bit nervous when I'm asked that question. If you're anything like us, yes, a little fear comes to the surface. What am I going to say? So you've joined us today. You've joined Jessica, who is a professional speaker, a speaker coach, and she teaches effective ways to introduce yourself. So this session will help you to prepare for making positive and lasting first impressions and highlight the significance and power of networking. I love it all, and I'm ready to learn. Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm just going to pass this virtual mic off to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks, Michelle, for that beautiful opening. Really happy to be here. The other thing that I guess was not in my title that I'm really proud of right now is I'm a podcast host. And so my podcast is called the Confidence and Communication Podcast. Thank you. And I just published my 100th podcast. And like, it's one of the best things that I have going for myself right now. It's in the top 5% of podcasts worldwide. So if you like podcasts, please check it out, the Confidence and Communication Podcast. But it's, you know, all of the work that I get to do is very much around what we're going to talk about today. Like networking is something that I just sort of got thrown into. And there were a lot of times that I was like, I'm not really sure what to do here. Like, why am I here? Networking, I'm supposed to meet people, but I don't really know how. So what I want to be able to share is what I've learned and what's worked for me, what's worked with people that I've coached. And yeah, so I'll be interested to know if any of this is surprising to you when we start getting through the material. So I do have a PowerPoint that I'm going to share with you. So I think that I should be able to share the screen. Is that correct? Okay. So let me make sure that I have the right screen. Okay. Okay, yeah, looks good. That's what I want you to see. Okay, so we're going to focus our conversation a lot on our confident introduction, because at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is being able to talk about yourself, being able to introduce yourself. And this is going to be one, like, it's a major component of networking, but we'll also get into some of those other tips as well. But I do want to reiterate what Michelle said about the chat. Please feel free to use the chat. I haven't seen where anyone's from yet, and Michelle has said put that in there. So I'll start. I'm just going to add in there, I'm in Treaty 1 territory, which is also known as Winnipeg, Manitoba. So if you're with us live, then just let us know. We just want to connect people, right? So that is fun. Okay. So, confident introductions. All right. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Okanagan Indian Band. Yay. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. So any questions, anything, anytime comes up, or anytime anything comes up, please feel free to put it in the chat. Ask your questions. This is an opportunity for us to have this live conversation. And, you know, not coming on, oh, Karen is here. I know Karen. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you here. So, yeah, if you're watching this later, you don't really get that opportunity to ask questions. So this is a safe space. We're here to learn together. So if there's any questions, put it in the chat. I'm going to do my best to answer. And then, so the other thing that I just want to throw in there is I've been doing this work for, I've been a full-time certified life coach since 2016 is when I've been doing this full-time. So I coach professionals on networking. So I've spoken at over 150 events, and I call that my lazy number, because I don't actually want to go through my calendar and legitimately count, but it's probably higher is what I mean by that. So I have so much experience, and I just want to be able to extend that to our Zoom room today. So I just want to share that. Thank you for putting that in the chat. So what to expect? I do want to talk a little bit about body language, because in my coaching, a lot of what I talk about has to do with confidence. So when we're speaking, when we're sharing introductions, all of the stuff we're going to talk about starts in our body. That's where confidence starts. So because we're in the Zoom room, we're not in person, I'm going to do my best to share that. You're going to leave here today with how to prepare a confident introduction on yourself for wherever it is that you're going. We're going to talk networking 101. And if there's anyone in the room that, whether there's something that I share and you say that, you know, I have an idea or this is how I do it and you want to share, put that in the chat, because we all come with something. We all come with different experiences and knowledge. And I really invite you to take the opportunity for times like this to practice sharing that knowledge if that's not something that you're used to. So, oops, won't go too much into that. Already did that. A little bit about who I am. And this is what we talked about in the ad. What happens in your body when you hear, okay, we're going to go around the room and introduce ourselves. So this is what I want to invite you to put in the chat is what happens to you? What happens to your body? Because I'm going to tell you that when, and I'm better now, I'm healed now. But what used to happen was my heart would just start pounding and my legs would start shaking. And honest, this is a true thing that I had actually done one time, is I left the room. I was there, you know, coming around and I knew my turn was coming up and I didn't want to do it. So I went to the bathroom. And I look back now and I was just so terrified to speak in front of people. So what happens in your body? I need to know. Tell me, share in the chat. What happens to your body, when your heart, what goes on? All right, so yeah, freak out and do the same. Anxiety, yep. Stress, heart beats faster, sweaty hands. Yeah. And we should know, like, this is us. We're talking about us. We should know. But you know what? Where that anxiety comes from is our experiences. So our subconscious mind, where we hold our core beliefs, like really deep down under, is where we had an experience at some point in our lives. And us speaking wasn't accepted. So whether it was at school or at home, there was something that happened to us that made it, when we spoke up, or the experience was that it's not safe to do that. It's not safe. So our body is trying to protect us. Our brain is actually trying to protect us by giving us anxiety, saying, no, we don't do that. That's not safe for us to do that. And so there's a lot of like inner work or shadow work. There's a lot of different names that people use for really getting underneath your limiting beliefs. But, and unfortunately, we won't get to do that here today, but I'm going to give you some of the tips to sort of, you know, overall, what is it that we need to do? How do we clarify? How do we actually take some action so that we are not running to the bathroom? Because we don't need to go. We don't need to be there, right? We don't need to be in those stinky rooms. Okay, so has anyone ever heard of the word glossophobia? If anyone wants to guess what it might be, go ahead and put it in the chat. So thank you, Sydney, for sharing that as well. Worrying about saying the wrong thing or mispronouncing. Yeah. Shame. Oh, that's deep. Yeah, I feel you. So glossophobia. So I'm going to tell you anyway. So glossophobia is the fear of speaking in public. Yes, thank you. So Sydney was going to put that in there. Maybe there's a delay. I don't know. Being in a fishbowl. Ooh. Ken, I'm curious what that means. Say more about that. So 75% of people, like, that's huge. I'm, of course, one of the 25%, but I had to work at it. I didn't always like to speak in front of people. Like I said, I literally left the room because I didn't want to talk about myself. But this is a huge common thing that people are afraid to speak in front of other people. And it was when I started to ask questions about why did I feel this way, I had lots of opportunities to speak in front of audiences and just speak in front of groups. And so I really needed to, for my own sake, is I needed to understand what the heck is going on with me. Why am I so afraid of this? And one of my skills, one of my gifts, I didn't know it at the time, was how do I take that weakness and how do I bring it back as a strength? So you can even use that, you know, when you're doing job interviews and they're like, what's your biggest weakness? You can use that one. That's a gift for everyone. I'm afraid of public speaking, but I'm working at it. So that's glossophobia. And here's like the line that we all dread hearing. Tell me about yourself. We're like, no, I don't want to talk about myself. So again, what we're going to talk about, this is going to help you in all of the areas. If you're doing interviews, if you're having professional meetings, when you're networking, you're meeting people, all sorts of opportunities. This, I want to help you just with something really simple. I really just want to simplify it because I want you to feel more prepared and confident. And I don't want you to have to run out of the room and leave the room, because if you're not in the room, you're missing out on opportunities. You're missing out on opportunities to meet cool people, maybe have really great experiences, great jobs, right? Like when we are holding ourselves back from being seen, we're missing out on so many opportunities. And we see those people who walk in the room and they're not afraid to put their hand up and they're not afraid to yell at someone across the room. And sometimes those people, because they're louder, you know, sometimes they get some of those opportunities that we think, oh shoot, like that would have been really cool. But it doesn't mean that you need to be loud. I'm not saying that those are the people that, you know, they win, because I don't believe that. So another thing that I'm obsessed with, and in these little tools that I'm sharing, is communication comes to you in 3 parts. And I want to invite you to, if you look at these 3 components of communication, which would you say is the biggest component and which would be the smallest? So words, the words that we use, how much do you think that actually matters in communication? Voice and tone. So you're just using your voice alone. The volume of your voice, again, there's those loud people, but then there are people who are, you know, kind of like quiet talkers and slow talkers. And, you know, how much does that matter? And modulation is just different ways of using your voice. Pauses is doing things like using space and allowing, thank you for already putting that answer in there. Just leaving opportunities for, you know, other things to come in. Body language, eye contact, moving your body, facial movement, anything nonverbal. So thank you. So Sydney has put something in there. If anyone else wants to add it now, because the answer's coming quick. So voice and tone is her guess, is the biggest. Body language is next, and then words would be the smallest. Ooh, very interesting. Anybody else want to add in there before I reveal the big answer? Voice and tone. And you know what, we probably all have our own, like we think of experiences, we think of something that that has happened to us on why we think that. Okay, so if you're putting it in there, I still welcome you to do it, but I'm going to move forward just for the sake of our time together. So here it is. Voice and tone. Ooh, someone's doing some homework over there. You got it bang on. Amazing, amazing. So look at this. So, okay, some things to think about. If you could imagine walking into a room, let's say you're going into a conference and there's already, you know, 500 people in the room. If you walk in the room, do you think that your communication is starting with people as your body enters the room, or as you shake someone's hand and say your name? Where does it start? Where does communication start? Entering the room or shaking someone's hand and saying your name? 1 or 2? Curious what everyone thinks. Number one. Okay, yeah. We got a theme going here, and it's absolutely correct. Thank you. So when you walk into a room, As soon as your body is present, you are communicating. So that says a lot about how we take care of ourselves, right? I think there's sometimes like we want to be sensitive to people and say, you know, oh, don't worry about if you're not dressed your best, or if you're not dressed professionally, if you're not dressed in a suit, or if you're not, you know, wearing these certain things that we think is professional. I say, as long as you feel your best, if you honestly feel your best, then that is what you're going to communicate. So as soon as you enter a space and you are in another space with another person, you are communicating immediately. So your body language, 55%, that's huge, right? How you're standing, if you're standing tall, if you're making eye contact, if you're looking at people. So that's very important when it comes to networking, right? If you go into a conference or a space and you quickly go to the table that's against the wall and you just sit there at the back all day, like you're literally excluding yourself from the action which happens, and you can see where it happens, either at the front of the room or by the coffee stand or wherever that might be. It's up to you to put your body into that area of communication. So body language, 55%, eye contact, body language, standing up straight, wearing what you think you want to wear that makes you feel good, and just nonverbal actions, right? Waving, right? Many of us are doing that on Zoom. When we come online, as soon as our picture is open, we'll wave to people. Do that in the room when you are walking into network somewhere. But making sure that your chin is up, all that does, that kind of stuff, is letting people know that you are open for communication, right? My back is straight, I'm standing up, I'm not at the back of the room with my arms crossed. Because if you think about it, if you were sitting there with arms crossed, what we're doing is we're literally crossing off our bodies, and we're closing off communication. So I want you to think about that. Think about the way that you sit when you're in different spaces. Think about how your body is held when you're hanging out with your friends and people that you feel really comfortable with. Think about how you feel when you're in class, or another space that maybe is not completely familiar or allows you to be completely familiar, or comfortable when you are with your friends. Body language is huge. So something to really keep in mind. If anyone has any questions about body languages or situations, let me know. Feel free to put that in the chat. But when it comes to or leaning back from people, okay, yeah, that's interesting, especially if your arms are crossed, right? That's not a welcoming body language. So voice and tone, also really big. Also, I won't go there yet. Your voice and tone. So the words that we use are so little, like 7%. That's tiny. There's a quote, and I'm trying to remember the name of the woman, but she says, people won't remember what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. If anyone remembers who said that, feel free to put it in the chat, because I can't remember who said it. But there's so much truth to that. There's so much truth to that. I'm someone who, I'll listen to, someone speak, or I'll hear something that's really inspiring, and I can't say it for word, but I'll tell you what I think about it on how it made me feel, right? The words are not so much important. And so that's, again, something to think about when you're going to raise your hand, you're going to introduce yourself, you're going to meet someone new. The words, not so important, but your body language and your presence in, making eye contact, which some of us are not really comfortable with. If you have any questions about that, put it in the chat. Tone of voice, using a voice that it doesn't necessarily have to be like really high. You don't necessarily have to be really loud, you just have to use, your own pleasantries and using a tone that shows that you are interested in the conversation, your body language, your eye contact, that you're all, all of this working together to show that you are engaged, that you're open for communication. So we all need to check ourselves a little bit when it comes to that. So I want to invite you again in the chat, what are some situations that you can think of, or have you noticed your own body language in certain situations? So I want you to just answer that yes or no. If yes, okay, thank you, Ken. Ken is, yeah, he's good. He's on top today, Maya Angelou. Yeah, if there are situations that come up for you that you recognize, oh, when I'm in this situation, this is what happens to my body with regards to body language. If anything is coming to mind, let me know. Because what I'm going to invite you to do after today is to become very aware of that. Start to recognize, oh, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's happening in my body. And sometimes we can look at other people, and I want you to start thinking about what is their body language. Carmel pretends to be on her phone. That's a good one. That's a good one, to avoid having to talk to people. You know what, honestly, I'll sometimes do that with my neighbors. I'll walk by and I'll put my phone on mute or whatever, because I don't want to talk to my neighbors. Sometimes you don't want to be social, and that's okay. But you have to pick and choose, right, when you're going to use those things. Because my body language, if I'm walking around like this, I'm pretty much saying, like, I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm not available for conversation. So keep in mind, what are you seeing that others are doing? And then take some time, just after today, and, as you talk to and see people in your life, just start to reflect what's going on with you and what's going on with them. All right, Sydney. So I recall during the pandemic, I went to see the doctor and was not comfortable being so close to people. So I was literally leaning back. Oh, yeah. Our bodies will sometimes help us respond, right? We don't even know what to do. We just sort of follow what our body is kind of making us do. So yeah, totally. So this is something that I'm obsessed with. I love knowing this kind of stuff. And this right here was probably in one of my first coaching trainings that I offered in 2013. That's how much I love this thing. I've been talking about it for 10 years. All right. Another reason we don't like, or some of us anyway, some of us don't like to talk about ourselves. It feels arrogant. It gives me anxiety. I will even have a lot of my clients come and say, my life is so boring. Why would I talk about me? There's nothing interesting about me. I have nothing to share. That's something that, when I was talking about how we have those experiences and maybe they're not even experiences that we totally remember, that have made us feel that it wasn't safe to talk about ourselves. It wasn't safe to talk in front of people. It's some of those same experiences that sort of hold us back, and our body gives us so much anxiety because we feel like it's not safe. I tried that before and it wasn't accepted. Like, that's sort of some of the limiting beliefs that we don't always verbalize them. We don't always think about it word for word, but underneath everything, that's kind of what's going on. But I don't believe that. I'm going to share a little story quickly. In 2019, I was sworn in as chairperson for the Winnipeg Chamber of Commerce, which is the second largest business organization in Manitoba. And I had sat on the board for years already by this time. I was chairperson of another organization at the time. And so this was a really big deal. It was a really big deal for me in my career. It was something that I was looking forward to. And I really started to schedule my life around what this year of serving as chairperson was going to look like for me. And on as the week started to happen, there was a lot of news around it, because I was the first Indigenous woman to have this position in 147 years. That's how old the organization was. And so there was a lot of talk. Thank you. There was a lot of talk about you know, being an Indigenous person and how I'm going to bridge the Indigenous community and the business community. And when we talked about it in the boardroom, I was like, oh yeah, of course, this is what I'm passionate about. But when it started to show up on the front page of the news, and I was getting congratulation messages from the mayor, from what do you call it, senators in Ottawa, and just like all of these people with these really big names and titles. As soon as that started happening, I was like, oh no, like they're gonna find out I don't know what I'm doing. They're gonna find out I don't know what I'm talking about. This was a mistake. Why did I say that I would do this? And all of this fear came over me. But meanwhile, the same person that they were talking about in the media, like that was me. That was already everything that I was doing. But it was because of those limiting beliefs that I'm talking about and all of those fears that come from our past experiences were really like rising up, and they were really loud. And I didn't feel like I belonged there, even though I had worked my way to be there. So some of the challenges that I had to deal with was perfectionism. You know, I didn't think that I was good enough. I can't talk about what I'm doing yet because I'm not there yet. I haven't reached my goals yet. So it's not perfect, right? It's BS. It's not true. It doesn't exist. The other thing that was coming up for me was imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is something that, like, maybe you have you've graduated a program, or you've got some award or some sort of recognition, and you might feel that way when someone acknowledges it. You might feel like, well, yeah, but I worked so hard, like it was luck that I got there, like it's not me, it was just luck. Or they don't really know me, you know, I got my name on that list and I worked really hard, but like, no, that's not me, right? So there's a lot of those things that come up, and these are sort of the bigger picture obstacles that hold us back when we want to really, when we need to introduce ourselves and allow us to be in spaces where we deserve to be. And comparing yourself is something that, you know, comparison is a thief of joy, right? That's another famous quote, Ken, that I don't know who said. So if you want to look it up, but comparison is a thief of joy. So, you know, if you're doing that, best advice is, you know, just stop doing that. Stop looking at other people and start. One of the things I do with my clients is I get them to create a scoreboard of their own accomplishments. And it might be things that you don't really like to, you know, I'm not saying go out and brag. If you want to brag, I support that as well, because I think that especially Indigenous people, we need to not always be so modest and not look down on people who are celebrating their successes. And that's what bragging is. I think it's just got a bad rep. Because no matter what, no matter where you are, wherever, you know, your feet take you, wherever your heart takes you, wherever spirit takes you, I want to invite you to make a decision that no matter what, decide right now that what you have to offer is good enough to be at the table. No matter what it is, no matter who you are, no matter what your thoughts are, your opinions are, your experiences are, you matter and you're worthy of being there. Thank you, Ken. Teddy Roosevelt, really? Okay. So your opinions matter. And this is important when it comes to making introductions for yourself and networking, because it's about communication, right? Like words, yeah, 7%, that's one thing. But when you want to share an opinion on something, I don't care what anybody else says, like your opinion matters, your experience matters. If there's something that you care about, that you want to talk about, maybe it's your work when you're networking, and maybe you just even want to ask questions about something, your voice matters, your goals matter. It's just really important for me to put that out there, in case no one told you that today. Okay. And all right, so I already asked you this question. Oh, 7 seconds. Okay, so this is something that I wanted to talk about really quickly. So your first impression happens in 7 seconds. So that is something, I can't remember where I found it. I've probably had that 7 second statement in my slides for a while, but I believe that that's even shorter now. And I'm going to tell you why. So over the last several years, the way that we as human beings take in our information has changed. Throughout the pandemic, the rise of video with TikTok and Instagram Reels and even Facebook Reels, right, was huge. Video, of course, we always knew, but once YouTube was out, once all of these things have become a part of our lives, we started to recognize that. But the rise of TikTok and Instagram Reels have again increased it. So I want you to think about, is there anyone on the call right now that doesn't scroll videos? Because if you don't, then I don't get you, but because all I'm saying is most of us do that, right? Is there anyone that doesn't? Doom scroll, yeah, she knows what I'm talking about. She knows what I'm talking about. So when you're scrolling, you look at the video, and I'm going to use Reels because I only go on Instagram as an example. But when you're looking at the video, how quickly before you scroll, right? Like sometimes it's like 2 seconds and no, I don't want to watch that. No, I don't want to watch that. The point I'm making is the way that we take in information is quick. We make judgments quick as people. And I just want you to keep that in mind when it comes to, like, if we're doing first impressions faster than before. Yeah. Like, it is changing. So before we started our call, we were talking about the introduction that Michelle was going to read for me. And she's like, oh, good, it's nice and quick. And I was like, yeah, like, I don't want to bore people with my bio. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I've done, but if anyone really wants to know, they can Google it. And I know that's not always the case, but all I'm saying is you need to be careful when you're getting into introductions, because you don't want to give a really long 7, 8, 10, 20-minute introduction, because people are still doing it. And how quickly are we like, oh God, I wish this person would stop. I wish they would just stop talking. How do I get out of this? I think that was something that I wanted to learn next in my networking. Once I got really good at it, I had to learn, how do I get out of this? How long is the perfect intro today? It's going to be really quick, and we were almost there. So confidence is just an energy. Again, just to keep that in mind, your body language, the confidence, it's all an energy. I think maybe I'll come back to this if we have time. I won't worry about that today. Okay, so here it is. So your rock star introduction, okay? So this may change over time. And what I want to ask you is, this is what you want to think about. When you're meeting someone, what do you want them to know you for? So you don't have to know that, okay, here's my name, I've worked at these 7 places, I have this education, I have this many kids. You don't need to know all of that right away. There's a time and a place for that. If I'm going to go out to meet someone, I want them to know where I'm going, not where I've been, right? I want you to think about, what do you want to be known for? Where are you going? Because when you tell me that, then it's up to me to say, where have you been, right? Tell me more about this. What is your experience in that, right? Where are you going? What do you want to be known for? And you might always not know that just yet, and that's okay. I want you to think about, where are you going? What do you want to be known for? Why are you networking? Why are you out there wanting to meet people? You need to know that. Spend a couple of minutes thinking about it. It doesn't have to be written in stone. It doesn't have to, be this incredible idea that's going to blow people away. You just have to come up with something, and it's up to you. No one can tell you. You have to know, you have to decide. So here is the introduction. It is your name. Hi, my name is Jessica. My title, I'm a professional, or I like to say I'm a podcaster and a professional coach. If you're a student, is this working on? Do you see that little blue arrow? If you're a student, you know, what are you, when are you finishing? What will your degree be? Whatever, something like that. But where do you fit into the community, or what is your goal to fit into the community? So that would be what you talk about. I already know my career, so you know, it's okay for me to say where I am. But if you're networking for the sake of, you know, maybe getting a job, maybe getting new business, right? What is it? What is that overall goal? That's what you want to talk about. Where do you fit into the community? And then keep it simple. Three statements about who you are. And how does that connect you to the reason that you're at this event? So again, if it was me, I'm Jessica Dumas. I'm a podcaster and I'm a professional coach. I coach female entrepreneurs to use their voice confidently on stage. And that's who I am. That's it. I don't need to tell you 75 things, and I don't need to take 30 minutes of your day. But we overcomplicate these things because people who didn't know any better, that's who we learn from, right? But again, no offense to them, but times are changing. The way that people introduce themselves, or the way that they did, the way that I'm saying is like, we're done with that. They were doing that because it was required in the world. We used to have people traveling long distances. They didn't have Facebook, they didn't have Google, right? So they had to travel these long distances, and they had to tell you, this is who I am, this is why I'm here. And so we learn that, and a lot of people still pick it up and they carry it. But you know, sorry, not sorry, but it's boring. Like, just tell me who you are, what are you doing here, what do you want to talk about? And then I add this little thing, thank you, or, you know, I'm happy to be here. I use that because that does a couple of things. It allows us to just say, okay, I'm done. Thank you. So then you're allowing your body and your mind to just say, okay, I did it. I did the intro. I'm done now. But then it also lets other people know that you're done talking. And they might be like, oh, whoa. So you said you're taking this program. Tell me more about that. Right? So when you're sharing your title or where you're going, or these 3 statements, and I know for some people that might be a challenge, because I've done this workshop, and even though I'm saying keep it short, people will still go into these really long introductions. But what I'm going to invite you to do is you spend some time just on these things right here. This is my name, this is who I am. Here's, you know, 3 things about me that are relevant to the reason that we're talking. Right? If I'm going out to, let's say, I mean, my kids are big now, but if I was going out to a pizza football wind up, my introduction might be different, right? What does it matter to that event? Well, to that event, it might be, you know, I'm James's mom. We go to practice on these nights, and we're at this field. Where are you guys? Right? So 3 things that matter to the purpose of the meeting. And you get to make it up. So I want your first thoughts, your feedback right now. What do you think of that? Does it sound too simple? Does it sound like, you know, it's not enough? Or are you just like, wow, okay. So what are some of your initial thoughts? Please put it in the chat. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, the start of a good conversation. Awesome. Awesome. Takes the pressure off. Yeah. We think about it too much, right? Yeah. So there is what mine might look like. Great tips. I definitely overthink it. Yeah, thank you. Let people know what you want from them. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, again, this is just sort of, I shared a couple of my examples. That one's a little bit drawn out as well. But what do you want to be known for? So if you, what did I put on there? If you don't know, how do you expect anyone else to know? Well, that was good advice, Jessica. Good advice. If you don't know, how do you expect anybody else to know? So if you're going out to a networking event and, you know, I'm looking for a career in this, maybe I'm starting a Monday night meetup group for this, you know, whatever it is that are some of your goals, put that in your intro, but just is, you know, also keep it simple. So practice, 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 you know, especially if you are someone who tends to have those feelings of like, I want to run out of the room, right? So just write it down and practice it. And it's also okay if you're in a space where you literally have to write it down and read off your 3 things. You know what, that if you're doing that in front of people, I say, yeah, go you. Like, never be afraid to write your own notes and read your own notes if that's how you learn. Because sometimes when we're put on the spot, that nervousness comes over our body. That's okay. Use your tools, but practice. Oh, and then, so this one, I like this in here, exaggerate your practice. I love in my coaching, when I'm working with people, either like in person, when I can actually like see you and make you do things, is to exaggerate. So practice your introduction in the mirror. If you are someone who normally speaks really quiet, I encourage you practice using your, you know, pushing your voice out from your diaphragm. Just practice using that. Practice it in your car, practice it in the mirror. Yeah. You can write out scenarios where, you know, I might use this introduction here. You know, maybe when I'm at school with the teachers, I do this one over here. Maybe if I'm going into a business networking event, I'm going to use this one here. But spend some time in advance writing down what you want to be known for, because that's what other people are going to know you for. It's what you tell them. Okay, so I'm going to, I have 2 more slides, and then I want to invite Q&A. So networking is about building professional relationships. So when you go out to networking, it's about like just meeting people, like who's doing what. And so I want, because we just covered that, right? All you need to know is we've already covered who you are, but your job is to get curious about them. Who are they and what do they do? Because people like it when you ask them, right? They don't feel so much like, there's a difference when you say, oh, this is who I am and this is what I do, and I'm telling you all of these things about me, and I feel like, oh, do they even care, right? That's one energy. But the other energy is when someone asks me with pure curiosity, then it comforts me. I'm like, oh, you want to know what I do? Okay, right? So you want to wait for that opportunity for them to just ask you. So you go in with that curiosity of asking them, who are they and what do they do, right? I wonder if Ken knows this. What is your daddy and what does he do? Who is your daddy and what does he do? I know that one. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who knows the movie? So yeah, professional relationships, be curious. So it's your job to learn, what are other people doing? They will ask you, because they're there to network too. So they're going to ask you, who are you and what do you do? And then you'll have that comfort in sharing. Ask questions and learn about the wide world. That's your job in networking. Give people genuine compliments, right? I really like, you know what? One thing that I really like to talk about, which is hilarious, is like a really good writing pen. So if you could be someone who like takes out, like maybe you go to wherever, Chapters or Staples or something, and you get a really good pen. people will know, they'll recognize that. They'll be like, oh, wow, you have a really nice pen. Like, so little things about yourself that you can bring that help you stand out, that can be a conversation piece. Go for it. Get people to talk about what they love. You know, one of the things that I was really good, love the gel ink pen. When I saw that, I was thinking of a pink ink pen. Let's see how that conversation will go. I always love to ask people, what do you like about your career? Or what is your day like? Tell me about your day. Like, yeah, I know you're an accountant, or I know that you do this thing, but what do you do on a daily basis? Or what's the favorite part of your job? So those are like some of the curiosity questions that people like to answer. How do you know so-and-so? How long have you been doing this? Another thing I ask is, do you sit on any boards? Do you volunteer? Right? Just to get to know people. Who are they? What do they like? Really good conversation starters. And humor, right? Especially in Indigenous spaces, you're going to have humor anyway. So play with that. Don't be afraid to make a joke. Because at the end of the day, and sometimes people forget this, is that like we're all just human. You know, we go into these spaces and we think, oh, we have to be professional. We have to, be stiff and everything is serious. And I'm just like, how much fun is that? No, thank you. Use humor. If you're good at making jokes, make some jokes, right? Just have fun with it. People appreciate humor. Yeah. So Q&A. So I know that we didn't really get a chance for you to share your intro, but that's going to be your homework, and that's on you. That's your responsibility. Michelle's like, thank God. But do it. Okay. Write down your 3 things in a couple of scenarios, things that are coming up. And I want you to practice it. So Q&A. So feel free, put it in the chat. Or if there's any other way that we should do this. So Sydney said, my cousins were posting about the taco Christmas tree and shrieking with laughter. I don't even know what that is, but I'll have to look it up. Danielle says, do you have an example of a time where you had trouble networking? Good question. Let's see. I mean, there were definitely times that I was really nervous. I can't really think of a funny story. But I will share. I actually recorded a podcast yesterday with a guest, and that's going to go live in a couple of weeks. And her name is Divya Sharma. And I met her at a Winnipeg Chamber event, and I was really impressed. So she was like 15 years old when this happened. So at this time, I'm the past chairperson, or maybe I was the chairperson. Can't remember. But she came up to me and introduced me to herself. And I was so impressed because she, first of all, came up to me, a stranger, and she just, she knew her introduction, and I've never forgotten her. And that was one of the things that we talked about on the podcast yesterday. So, yeah, I think in a lot of ways, my career has been, I don't want to say that I've been lucky, because I know that I've created everything that I've had in my career, but I've had some really great experiences. So no funny stories that I can think of.
Can you tell us about, because it kind of skimmed by it on one of the first slides, but were you nervous about introducing Michelle Obama? And what was her intro like?
Ooh, that was really good. And it was a really interesting experience because she had a huge team of Secret Service. So she had Secret Service, and then she had a huge stage team, and they were trying to be very strict, and they kept trying to cut down my introduction. Actually, I did a podcast about it. I can't remember which episode it's about, but it's on there. And it was really fun. I felt so honored to be able to do that. I was nervous, but I had practiced a lot. I had lots of opportunities to practice, and even on the stage, before the actual event, they made us do it 3 times because her team just didn't want anything to mess up, and they didn't know. Oh, taco Christmas tree. That's hilarious. Yeah, so lots of practice for that one. So what is this question? What do I do? What I do for, what is it? What I do? What is IMPT to who I do it for is an alternative? Yeah, if that's something that like, are you networking for the sake of getting new clients? Like, what are you networking for? If answering those questions are going to get you the goal of why you're there, then I say yes. Yeah, so I hope that you'll also check out my podcast, the Confidence and Communication Podcast. And my Instagram is jessicadumas.ca. So if anyone wants to connect with me there, that would be great.
That's awesome. What a great session. Yeah, put it in the chat, Jessica.
Okay.
Put it in the chat. What a great session. Even for me, like I'm used to public speaking, but what you brought to the table today, like even having those 3 points, like just it was very clear and concise. And I think that's what communication needs to be. So I'm walking away with some good tips today. So thank you so much.
Good.
Yeah, there it is in the chat box, everyone. Check it out. Podcast. I love me a good podcast. So I'm looking forward to following, catching up. You said 100 episodes?
Yeah, I'm over 100 now.
Gotta catch up.
Yeah, and so some other exciting news that isn't like officially announced, but I'm really excited, so I'm gonna tell you guys. So there's the link to my podcast. So at the end of the month, I'm going to have a radio show. So maybe I won't say with who yet. I'll just say that. So I'm going to have a radio show every week. And this is like as a result of like my consistency to my podcast. And it's like I coach and I train and I'm working at I think what I'm going to do in the new year is come back with some more of my training sessions, like in-person training. And it's all kind of what we talked about today, speaking, facilitation, that sort of thing. And I also am rebuilding some of my digital products that are, for sale to help you speak confidently.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Can't wait for that official announcement. Looking forward to following that. We're cheering you on. We're honored that you got to spend some time with us this afternoon. So thank you so much. And everyone who's joined this afternoon, thank you for being here. We're honored that you decided to just take a moment to listen and to learn and to hopefully implement some of the tips and tools that she brought today. So thank you all for being here. Have a good rest of the day. And I hope we meet each other again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.